All right, you guys, it's Austin Holloman. I'm so sorry for the wait, and I'm so sorry for pushing the stream an hour back. But if you guys were tuning in, we were doing an IRL stream here on the beach where you saw me get scammed, pre-scammed, because I said I was going to get scammed on live video. It's a great time out here in Cartagena, but there's so many tourists that the locals are scamming at every opportunity they get. That's what comes with the game. But if you guys want to see it firsthand, go watch the last live video after this live stream is over. Now, today, we have a special guest, a good friend of mine that I met for the first time in Thailand. And we rode from Bangkok to Pattaya together. We hung out. I met him here in Medellin. He's been all over. He's been more mainstream with the Passport Bro stuff than I have. So you guys know I was on CNN, but he made it past that. And he's been, I don't know, I'm going to ask him exactly who reported him, but he's been reported in positive and some sort of negative aspect, just like I was. But he's been very well known throughout the community. He's an excellent short form content creator. He has hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of subscribers. Of followers on TikTok and millions and millions of views. And this is, let me bring up my double screen here. This is the other, nice. The Digital Bro Mad. What's going on, man? How you doing?
Good. It's good to see you again, bro. I know, two Austins of the Passport Bros. It's kind of weird how that worked out.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, right? Where are you at right now?
I'm in the Philippines right now. I know you're out in Cartagena, man. I loved it there, but Colombia is getting so saturated. And I can't imagine how it was now, because back then I was there like a year ago and already was feeling it.
Yeah, I just got scammed. I paid 185,000 pesos, which is like almost $60 for 2 drinks in a chair.
Oh, bro, out here too? Colombia prices? That's crazy. So how do they do it? I'm just...
The thing is, they told me the price before I sat down. So I already knew what it was. So it wasn't really like I got scammed because they told me. They lied about the price. They upped the price because I was a foreigner. Even though I told them I was from Brazil. They still upped the price. But they told me beforehand, they brought me a menu because I said, how much is this drink before I order it? And the drink was 55,000 pesos, which is a lot for a drink.
Mm-hmm.
So compared to Uruguay or Chile, the drink would have been no more than $10, but I just paid like $13 a drink, something. It whatever it was high. I don't know exactly how much 55,000 pesos is, but it's what comes with the territory with a lot of Americans and Europeans flooding one place. And that's why Colombia has become oversaturated. Like even where you're at in the Philippines, I know it's no new news to us Americans, but I don't see as many of us there as I do here.
Colombia was crazy. We met up back then, back in Colombia, like 2 weeks ago, like almost a month ago, somewhere between there. And yeah, walking around is just crazy. And I don't know what it is. It's probably both of our content getting out. Like I think Passport Bros are going mainstream this year. The news has touched on it a little bit, but now it's really going to start breaking in. And so it's going to be interesting. And hopefully, like you said, it's just everyone learning about just one location. We're really, if we spread out, like the world's so big and there's so many hotspots. I really like what you do. Like you do a lot of good for the community, like checking out a bunch of different places. So hopefully people just don't all flock to Colombia, then people hate us there, and then it's like ruins a good thing, you know?
Yeah, because I noticed in Medellin, it seems like they're starting to get tired of foreigners being in Medellin.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
I'm glad to hear you clarify that because a lot of people don't think that I'm telling the truth about that, especially with the women. I can tell by how they respond in Medellin versus Cali that they're not as exposed in Cali. So when you talk to them in Cali, they're a little bit like, oh, hey, I mean, they've had some foreigners, but it's not like Medellin where it's like, oh, it's just another gringo. Like, here, you like, okay, get away from me. Where you might as well
Yeah.
go to the States.
And there's a lot of guys breaking hearts out there too. So it's like you, like a Colombian girl will probably try out, try to date international, and then if you're if you break her heart, like she's gonna have such a bad opinion about Americans from the jump. You know what I mean? And with everyone going out there like short term, like 2 weeks, I'm gonna spend 2 weeks in Colombia. You know, make a girl like try to go on dates with a girl and tell her I'm coming back, or tell her like she's the one, then just leave. Like that happens a lot out there. I think the women are
Yeah,
just starting to like think we're all fuck boys.
yeah, exactly, exactly. So, would you introduce yourself to everybody for me? For the people that don't know who you are, people that do know.
Yeah. So I go by Digital Bromad. My name's Austin Abeda. I've been traveling for about 3 years and didn't start really making content about 2 years ago. And like you said, I've been more focused on short form content. And yeah, TikTok blew up, and then I was Brett Cooper, which is sort of like she's under like what's his name? She's sort of like this like right wing news commentator. She did a whole thing on the Passport Bro and featured me heavily. And then like Business Insider did something. And recently, a French news organization just did a cover of the Passport Bros.
I
And
saw
man,
that.
it's crazy that the comments, the French guys were on my side. It's crazy. Like I think it's hard to attack the Passport Bros the correct way in this landscape. And I think a lot of people, news organizations, when they first find out, they just jump the gun, and it actually like backfires on them for the most part. Like I've seen a lot of like negative stuff about us or about me get backfired on immediately because um, the way they sort of rush into the arguments.
Okay, so how have you been handling all the reports on you? Like, how does that make you feel to have people? What? Who else did you say reported? You said CBS.
Yeah, it was Fox News wanted to do something, and then
Mhm.
yeah, that was
The
the news
official Fox,
organization.
like Tucker
Yeah,
Carlson Fox.
yeah. I was
Wow.
gonna be on Jesse Waters was the
Mm.
show. Jesse Waters prime time. Oh, and Dr. Phil. I was on a Dr. Phil episode, but it was more about trad wife stuff. It wasn't really Passport Bro stuff. But
Wow. So you didn't take the Fox News deal?
I wanted to. It was weird. It was like you were gonna go 5 minutes on live, and then just negotiating with the producer, because I've had some bad experiences with producers where they're like, "Here, come on live television. We love your stuff. It's gonna be so fun." And then they try to spin everything you get on there. It's just like how they try to make people look dumb for like clickbait stuff. So it seemed like I was walking into that situation. And then when I asked for certain things to sort of calm my mind, they didn't give them to me. So
Wow. I think you should have took it anyway. I think you should have took it anyway, man. But
yeah, you're right.
yeah, because
I
I
regret
mean,
it now.
yeah, all publicity. Because I had the chance to be on CNN in Brazil whenever that whole. I mean, I was on CNN, but they emailed me asking me to come on live television with them. And Rilla, the guy that we both know, he told me not to go. But looking back, I was like, I probably should have just added a little more fuel to the fire just to get myself a little more known. But I get it. I get why it may have shied you away a little bit. So
Yeah, and it would
where?
have been my first time live, so it was like just a lot of pressure too. But yeah,
Yeah,
I agree with you. I wish I would have done it now. Now that I've had some sort of like heat, and seeing the community come to like back you is really nice. So like, oh, people are gonna be on my side no matter what they say. Because like they're trying to play gotcha, and it just doesn't work.
yeah, exactly. So where are you from?
I grew up in Colorado, but I've been traveling all over. Like I think Colorado's my home, My dad was like a contractor for the government, so we were jumping around a lot. But I consider myself from Colorado.
Okay, and how was life in Colorado?
It was nice, I grew up pretty regular, like going to school, playing sports. I think after when I started trying to get into college, that's when things sort of started changing for me. I kind of got forced into college early and didn't really want to be there in a sense. And so that's when sort of like my journey of like dropping out and trying to figure out sort of my own way started.
Okay, okay. So, what got you into becoming so-called a passport bro? Like, what made you start traveling, and what made you start dating women abroad? I know you're in a relationship now, right?
Yeah, yeah, currently in a relationship, but when I started, I was single. And
Okay.
basically it was like uh I was doing this before people started having sort of like a name and movement for it. That's why my name was Digital Bro Mad, because I kind of thought like digital nomad life. It's like single guy traveler. And I started about 3 years ago, and what made me do it was just having your Tinder. Like you land and you're landing in a new spot and you get on Tinder and it's like all local girls. And it was interesting to be like, okay, I want to know the best spots to eat. I want to know the best spots to do. I want to know about the culture. What better way to learn than from someone who's a local, right? And then also when you're sort of dating, it's intimate to the point where you can learn their life story in a different way that they probably wouldn't tell just like someone on an interview when you're like spending close time with them. So it was really, really cool to just explore the world that way. I was really, really yeah, like it was better than I expected too. Like I didn't understand sort of how bad the dating culture was in America until I left and started trying in other countries, and I was like, "Holy shit, I'm never going back." Like,
It
why
was a
would
culture
not?
shock.
Yeah, it was a complete culture shock. And then after that, it was really hard for me to literally go back because it's once you see sort of how bad you've had it, you don't realize how bad it is until you leave. And then you're like, why go back and deal with all this when there's these places where you don't have to?
So, what was the main difference you noticed when dating abroad?
I think the first off the interest, like I think just the straight up the interest in you, the interest in where you're from, what you're doing, and I think that has to do with you being a foreigner in general. I think foreigners in America get that sort of interest as well, but people were a lot friendlier. The culture itself just felt a lot more conducive of like actually wanting to get to know you and hang out. And then of course, life was better. It's hard too because you're on in these like tropical places, you're in like such a uh an exciting space already, and then you've got like a cute girl by your side showing you around. It was I caught a little bit of wanderlust, but the way women treated me for sure was different, was better. Oh, I don't know if we cut out or not.
Sorry,
Oh well,
I
oh
guess you.
okay, we're switching back and
Okay.
forth.
So, why would you say those women treat you that way?
It's hard to tell, right? And I don't want to like think about it, take it apart too much. But what I've come to realize is like here's something new. And you when you go to places that are like very homogenous, that don't get a lot of foreigners, like who wouldn't want to try something new? There's plenty of girls, and I don't know if you had a guy in your school who was like a foreign exchange student, or like we had someone in my school from Brazil and someone from the UK. They got attention too. It's just being different and standing out. Then you get that initial interest, and also I feel like people are some people get burned in dating cultures no matter what and want to try something new. So I know that was my experience out with Colombia. Sometimes the girls are like, I want to just try someone different than like the local scene that I've been trying.
Okay. So, you think what about the culture? What about the culture in these other countries? Why is it that women respect or women treat men better in those other cultures? Because I know you said that it's because you're different, but are they like that with their own men?
Oh, you're right. No, no, no. I think there's a lot of pieces moving. The being different's one of the pieces, but you're right. The culture is very much like it's what how I describe it is like my grandpa could give me dating advice that would work in these countries. That in America, I think we threw out so many old rules because we're trying to change it. Now we're going 50-50, blah, blah, blah. And not everyone's on board. So I think there's no structure. There's no like fine dating structure. And it's just chaos. Like nobody kind of knows where the lines are. Is someone crossing the line? Like for instance, over here, it's very common if a girl sort of spends the night with you, or you can wake up and she might have done something in the house, like cleaned up a little bit or cooked a little bit or done something like that. And I guess people hear that in the States and might think, oh, that's just like perpetrating the patriarchy or something. You know what I mean? But out there, it's more just like showing respect. And I think a lot in the States is getting confused with like, how do you show respect for someone, a man, but also not perpetrate this sort of like patriarchy or like dominant structure. You don't want to feel less than. Where over there, it's just like, no, that's just how you show respect in a sense. I don't know
So
if you
you
have a similar feeling with it.
so you think it's uncommon for that to happen in the United States?
It's never happened to me. I think it's yeah.
I would agree. I can have this. I think out of all the years I lived in the States, which was only 23, but in the short amount of time that I was there compared to most people, I think I only had one of my girlfriends cook for me one
Yeah,
time.
right.
Versus abroad, if you say, "Hey, can you make me something?" If you have the stuff in the refrigerator, she'll do it, and she won't feel like she's less than, or like she's a slave to you, or whatever else she says. And maybe an older woman. Do you think that older women in the States will still do that as opposed to younger?
Yeah, 100%. I think so. I think like you said, like the dating culture just changed so fast without anything to replace it. Like nothing's replacing. I think maybe one day it'll all shake out, but it seems like a big experiment's going on in the States of like how we're supposed to date, and
Yep.
it's just failing right now.
Hmm. So where are you at currently?
I'm in the Philippines right now.
Okay, and what would you say is the the biggest difference in between the Philippines and the States?
I think, well, dating wise, definitely how you will get treated in the Philippines. Like someone thinking about you, someone trying to show you the little things of respect. Where I think a lot of in the States is like you trying to court the woman necessarily. But out here, the women are just as eager to prove to you that they're a good partner. Where it's like, it's not as much of like a chase as it is in the States, where it's like you're constantly trying to prove, hey, I'm that dude, or like I'm gonna be a great partner to the girl. It's like the girl's doing the same thing back, and they call it courting too, which I think is pretty like, oh, they're he's courting you, how are you responding, how are you doing it back. So it's kind of cool. It's definitely old school dating, and everyone speaks English, which is really really good. I know you learned Portuguese, which is like shout out to that because that's like commitment. I was
Thank
trying
you.
to learn Spanish, and mine is like 4 out of 10, but it makes a huge difference when you know the language. Massive difference.
So would you consider learning the language? What is it, Tagalog in the Philippines?
I think if I stay with the current girl I'm with, which I'm really happy with my current relationship, I think I'm gonna learn some Tagalog, but it's gonna take a while. That shit is hard. They put like 6 vowels right next to each other, no consonants, and you gotta like,
Really?
yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
Okay. Okay. So we got a good background on you. So let me ask you the first question. Based off what you said in the the current dating climate in the states right now, why is it most important at this moment right now to become a passport bro?
Yeah, I feel like you're just gonna notice a massive difference. Like when you leave this, it's just good for you. And I think a lot of people don't touch on this part of the passport bros enough that I want to touch on is like it's better for your finances. It's better for your mental health. It's better for your physical health. Like getting away from sort of the rat race in the States, it's not just about the dating. All areas of your life are going to improve. And it sort of snowballs into dating too. Like when you're not living paycheck to paycheck, when you got a nice house, when you can afford a trainer, when you can afford to eat out every single meal, you carry yourself different into relationships. So it's really like so you got so many factors working for you when you leave. So I think right now, especially with the economic and dating culture in the States, I think it's all the better to leave now.
Okay, so what is the issue? Why can't all men just up and leave? Like, what would you say that? What advice would you give to men that are interested in leaving? They're interested in the content we provide and the message that we have, but they don't know where to start.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing that's missing in this space. And I'm actually trying to do some work to help guys like that. So I've analyzed 10,000 remote jobs that just came out between 2024. So 7% of US work is remote. So the big thing is getting that remote job, right? And so I've done a lot of research on what sort of fields you can get into, what sort of certificates you can get to get that remote gig. But what I'm telling people right now is because I'm still doing a lot of that research. What I'm telling people right now, if you want to leave right now, if you want to just get up and go, start looking into customer success or customer service roles because you might only make like $20 an hour, but a lot of them are remote, and if you're going to Asia, they have night shifts where they pay you more, except when you're in Asia, it's actually going to be the day shift. So it's like a little hack you can do as well. And that's probably the easiest way to get your foot in the door. And then once you're out in these countries, it's so much easier to do self improvement as opposed to like working that job in the States. So that's the main problem is remote jobs. People need to get a remote job when they come out and have like a community when they land. Those two things.
So are you saying that $20 an hour is sufficient for most
Oh,
places around the world?
oh yeah, I would say so. I would say I think the statistic is if you make $36,000 a year, you're in the top 1% of the world. I think that's changed after COVID with inflation, but like it's something like that. So you would live comfortable on that. And now I never say you should just slow down, like always be progressing, always be trying to work towards something more. But at $20 an hour overseas, the Philippines, oh yeah, you're set, man. Sometimes rent can be $200 a month. My friends got $100 a month rent. So it's like it's crazy.
What is that place like for $100 a month?
It's gonna be yeah, it's not gonna be like super, super fancy. You'll have good internet. You'll have probably like a one bedroom apartment, maybe two-bedroom apartment out a little ways from the city. So a little bit more rural. But I mean, for the bang for your buck, you can't beat that.
And what city would you recommend? What cities around the world would you recommend somebody start?
So you would probably have better information on me than this. I started in Playa del Carmen and then went around Mexico, Colombia. The places that I found that I really liked were Seoul, South Korea, but necessarily the dating scene's not as great there as it is in some other places. Cebu or Manila, Philippines is great. Medellin was great, but I'm hesitant to recommend it now. But I think Medellin 2 years ago was really great.
And why are you hesitant
Um,
to recommend Medellin?
I think it's just got saturated. I think the word got out. I think it was a great spot, and so many people found out about it that it kind of self imploded. I think that happens with tourism. Like everyone flocks to one place and then just kind of squeezes it dry and then jumps to the next spot. So that's happening in Medellin right now.
Wow. Wow. And that's what I felt like when I went there as well. I didn't really feel the real Colombia until I went to Cali. And then now I'm in Barranquilla. It's a lot of tourists here, but I still get some culture out of here versus Medellin feels like it's just tailored towards American and European culture. It's not really it doesn't like if somebody told me, "Oh, I've only been to one place outside the United States and it's Medellin." I would say, "I don't think you've really been anywhere." I don't think. I think you just went to Disneyland across the Caribbean.
That's definitely what it feels like. It feels like Disneyland for men right now.
Yeah, yeah. So that being said, what would you say is the biggest threat right now? If people need to become a passport, bro, that's the best option for the majority of the men that are in these situations that we see daily on a daily basis. What do you think is the biggest threat towards that community?
I think public perception. I think we, I think passport bros. It's like people don't want it to be a positive thing, right? We have a lot of people with like vested interest in making passport bros look like one sex tourists, two losers back home who like could never get a girl anyway. Three, there's just all these negative stereotypes that they're trying to pin on the passport bros, and I think at this point it's almost like a culture war of like letting passport bros define themselves who they are, and then I'm sure you can feel it too, because there's some passport bro videos out there that are horrible, like that are nonsense, like people walking around Parque Yeres, and it's just a clip of them going around the red light district basically and saying like, look at all the women in X country. when it's the red light district. And so I think putting out that kind of propaganda is going to hurt us. And then public image, I think, is the biggest threat because people, especially now that it's going mainstream, they're going to try to smear it as much as they can. I guarantee, like any mainstream show is not going to do a pro Passport Bro segment.
And I would agree. Like I was just at Hollywood Beach here in Cartagena, and there was a lot of women. There were, a lot of good looking women too. But I made sure I told the people this is all pay for play, just so you know. Like
Mm,
this whole find a traditional wife, feminine woman. This is not the area for that. Like this is
yeah.
the sex tourist area, you know. And that was my first time going there. But I'm always honest, and I like to display those things so I'm never sending the wrong message.
No, you do a great job. And now that I'm moving into long form, I want to be able to do the same thing too. Because
Thank
I
you.
think, yeah, yeah. And you'll find a great spot and leave too, which I've always respected. Because I found a great spot in the Philippines. I was like, nah, I'm setting up shop here. But you were like, no, the people need to know what Uruguay is like and go head over there. So
Yeah, it's
respect.
hard because man, had I stayed in Argentina, I would save so much money. I would have saved so much money. I could have ate out 3 times a day for 15 to 20 bucks. Huge meals for 15 to 20 bucks a day, 3 times. But I, like you said, I want people to know about all the spots around the world that you don't just have to go to Medellin. But at the
Hmm.
same time, like you said, these people will flood one spot, squeeze it dry, jump to the next one. So unfortunately, some places don't need to be online because we know how people move. And we would think that the further it is, the less people will go there. Well, we went to Pattaya, Thailand. No shortage of Americans there.
Hmm.
They'll get on a 36-hour trip. Not 36 hours of flying, but a 36-hour trip to go over there. And yeah, you can't really stop these people, and you can't stop their behavior as well. So, who do you think should not be traveling?
I think, well, I think you got to be careful too. So there's a lot of things that go into traveling, and I think do your own research. But you shouldn't be traveling. I don't want to say if you don't have your remote gig set up yet, because I think you can spend 2 weeks, a month in a place and really get to know it, and it'll motivate you to get back out there. I know a lot of guys who have taken like 2 week trips to Medellin and been like, I'm getting my remote job now because I'm trying to live out there. So I think you just got to be financially stable enough and have. There's that whole. Remember that guy that got stranded in the DR?
Yep, Jay
Yeah,
Rillo.
like yeah, that guy is like don't have enough money. You got to have enough money for your return ticket, and you got to have uh, enough research beforehand just to be safe. Those
Yeah.
if you don't have those two things, you shouldn't go international.
Always have enough money for your return ticket. Always. That's if
Hmm.
you don't have anything, you have to be able to get back home. 100%. Okay, so my next question is what are the disadvantages of being a passport bro? Because we know that there's a lot of advantages, cheap cost of living, in my opinion, better women, more feminine women, just more kind women, better hygiene, better looking, as far as being natural with everything. No BBLs, none of that kind of stuff. I mean, they're there, but not the majority.
Hmm.
So, what is the downside to doing what we do?
I think both me and you can sort of say like it's the jump in ship every month, jump into a different country every so often. It kind of starts wearing on you where you're like, I'd love to settle somewhere. And not to say that you can't, but that initial leap of faith, like not only are you looking for your favorite spots around the world, but you got to like set up your social circle. You got to like find a good gym to go to. You got to find like your friend group over there. I think that's the hardest part is sort of letting go of all your old ties to society and going and starting fresh. It's hard to let go of things.
So,
Gringo Tuesday used to be the spot. So I just read
from Jupiter,
the
thank
shout
you
out
for the
there.
shout out super chat. Yeah, he said Gringo Tuesdays used to be the spot. To shout out the Digital Bromad. So, can you tell me one of your personal experiences on how having to jump ship, go to different country to country, how that may have affected some relationships or some people you knew in the previous country?
No, it sucks, and I think uh, you could agree with me as another content creator. Like we're putting our lives out there, so I'm sort of showing the world my dating. And if I'm dating a girl and it's like we're not exclusive, but when she goes on other dates, they don't go viral or they're not on the internet. So now I'm dating somebody else and she has to watch it or has to see it. And like that was really stressful. Trying to have like my, just have some girl that I'm dating, and I'm a single guy. So when I come back to this country, it'd be nice to like, oh, we'll go out for some drinks again, or oh, we'll continue talking, we'll hang out. But after her seeing me, oh, you just went through South Korea and dated these other girls, or like, what about this girl in this country? That's been a problem for me, jumping ship, like relationship wise, which is why now I'm staying in the Philippines for a longer period of time. And I don't know how you get your fitness, bro. You got to tell me some tips on fitness because like routine is tough for me. Whenever I leave, I got to like reset my routine. But yeah, that's tough.
Yeah, I just make sure I hit the gym at least 4 to 6 times per week. I always have to stay consistent because I've been progressing over the years, but it's very important. It also improves your sexual market value. So, well, you already know that, but what do you, would you think that getting a residency or showing some sort of documentation that you're going to stay in one place will make women more secure with dating you?
Oh, 100%. I think that's the big problem in Medellin is a lot of girls think these guys, and a lot of them are just there for a good time. And that gets old after a while. And yeah, residency, long-term visas, it's super important.
Do you have any of those?
Right now in the Philippines is kind of crazy. Every country's got different visa situations. So in the Philippines, it's actually I can continue to extend my visa up to 3 years, which is insane that it's that long. And it's like you got to pay $40 to extend it, like 2 months. 2 months show up again, another 40, extra 2 months, 6 months, all the way up to 3 years. And then you literally have to leave the country for one day and come back. So right now I'm on like my third month, but we'll see how long I'm staying here without leaving because I travel a lot anyway. But yeah, that's sort of my goal out here in the Philippines. I have a 6 month lease, so I'll have a place out here for 6 months at least.
Okay, so I wasn't really too surprised with the Philippines. Maybe it was the person I was at the time because I have evolved in the past, what is it, 13 or 14 months since I was there. What would you say attracted you to the Philippines the most to make you want to settle there for a long period of time?
I think the islands. I like the city life. Like I like convenience. I have a gym in my apartment building. I can order food, good internet. But what's cool about the Philippines is it's 7,000 islands and the tickets are cheap. So I get a round trip. I could have that city life, but I could be like with a coconut on one of the most beautiful beaches I could imagine within like a $40 plane ticket and stay over there for a week and then come back. So um, I like changing things up a lot, and so this gives me the option to have like that city life and also that beach life. And English is huge. Everyone speaking English was really nice.
Yes, yes, it's very convenient to have everybody speaking English. So, what are some things you wish could be better about the Philippines?
The internet when you go to the islands, that's tough because I work remote, so the islands are beautiful and everything, but yeah, you're not getting any good Wi-Fi there. Even the phone service sometimes is really shoddy. So once they get I think their infrastructure, once that gets sort of bolstered, I know they're working on it, it'll be a lot better.
So, Mr. Bobby Wright asks, he sent a $5 super chat. Thank you very much. What do you need in order to get a digital nomad visa in the Philippines?
Interesting. I don't have one. I'm doing the extended visa. And I think a lot of people are. I don't know if they offer a specific digital nomad visa, but you can just show up on a visa and just keep extending it. Now,
Yeah,
in order to own property, I think there's something you have to do.
yeah, it doesn't really make sense to get a digital nomad visa if you get 3 years and you just leave for one day and come back. I wouldn't even go through the hassle of getting a visa if the tourist visa is that, because I don't know anywhere else in the world for Americans where the visa is that convenient.
Yeah,
Most
3 years
of
is
South America,
crazy.
you get 6 months maximum, 90 days, Paraguay, 90 days, Argentina, Chile, 90 days, Brazil, 6 months, where they may have changed it now. But the Philippines is the only place I pretty much heard, or besides Kenya, where you can buy a 5 year visa. But that's just like the visa that you have there in the Philippines. So let me see. Somebody asked another question. Okay, that's it. So okay, so you get a 3 year visa. You wish the internet could be better. How is the food in the Philippines?
I actually really like the food, but I can understand why people don't. Because
Mhm.
it's a lot of vinegar. They have vinegar for breakfast, which I was like shocked. I was like, yeah, I could see by your face. You were like,
Yeah.
nah.
Wow.
No, but they make it work. Like they have a lot of vinegar and fish, um, a lot of meats, a lot of like liver and stuff I sit out on the street. But I have my girlfriend's Filipina, and so she's been cooking a bunch of different dishes and sort of found the ones that I really liked. Um, but a lot of vinegary flavor. So if you don't like that, you might think the food here is kind of the local food. But what's nice about being in the city, there's sushi spots, there's burger spots. Like you can get basically any cuisine you want out in the city.
So what would you say? I mean, how did you meet your Filipino girlfriend?
It's funny. I matched with her friend on Tinder. I matched with her friend on Tinder, and then I was doing some vlogging, and I was like, "Is it a cool if we like you could show me around, film some stuff?" And she was really shy. She's like, "My English isn't good, but I have my friend who speaks really good English, and she'd be down." And then so me and Jewel went out, and then I ended up vibing with Jewel way more, and then just sort of just started hanging out with her over and over, and then yeah, we ended up started to date, which is kind of weird that one of her best friends is like the original girl I matched with on Tinder,
Wow.
but it all
Wow.
worked out.
So what would you say? Who would you say is perfect to visit the Philippines? Like, who is the Philippines for?
Okay, I think if you want an easy transition to not have to learn a language, if you want cheap living, and if you have a remote job that's the night shift, that's a huge one because you'll come over here, you make more with the night shift, and you'll be on Asian time, so it'll feel like you're working a regular job. Uh, and you like beaches, and yeah, if you like the culture is very much like it's very Hispanic. Like it's very like loud, everyone drinking, everyone singing, karaoke's huge. You know, family house parties have like 60 people just running around. Everyone's yeah, it reminds me a lot of like Hispanic house parties. So they're like the Latinas of Asia. That's what people call
So would you consider it
Filipinos.
better than Korea?
Dating wise, yeah. I think Korea, in my opinion, the city's better. The Korean cities are like machines. Like they're just so clean. The culture's really fun. But as far they have like a bad stigma against Americans in Korea, and for good reason too. Like they won't let you into some clubs out in Korea. Just straight up to your face, be like, "Nah, you don't look Korean. What are you, American? You can't come in." And literally will like ban you from. They could just say you can't come into cafes or like a restaurant or it's kind of crazy. But yeah, and I think the military bases out there, a lot of American military men, like we created that bad stigma for ourselves. So I just go along with it.
So you think the military men is what made Korea's reputation with Americans bad?
Yeah, there's a lot of stories of like American men going out on the weekends from the military base, doing something horrible, and then rushing back to the military base, and then like the Korean authorities can't do anything about it once they like get inside the base. And then sort of the military sheltering. So there's been stories of that. I think it was a lot worse in the past, but yeah, that's what I've heard.
So you think like SA towards women?
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Somebody disagrees with you. They say, no, Koreans are racist. Get your facts straight. Do you think that Koreans are racist?
You know what? No, he's right. He's right. I think that's part of it too. They're a homogenous society, so they're 97% Korean. So a lot of people's who went to school in Korea. It's so different than America. They'll be like, "No, my whole class was Korean. We had one Chinese girl in our whole school, and that was like." So they're very homogenous, and I think that leads to a lot of sort of like insider outsider thinking. But he's not wrong. He's not wrong.
Okay. I've heard of something similar there. I've heard you tell me before personally that they wouldn't let Americans in clubs. So, is it cheaper to be in the Philippines or is it cheaper to be in Korea?
Much cheaper to be in the Philippines.
Okay. Yeah, I can imagine that. I can imagine it. So, are you going to live in the Philippines permanently, you believe?
I think for the next 6 months, and then I'm gonna start traveling again. I'll probably jump around. Japan was amazing. Korea's amazing too. Like I think if you want to go there just to see Korea and see the cold, like it's still a good spot to check out. I just don't know much about like living there, and yeah, having to deal with some of that nonsense as well. But I'm staying in the Philippines for 6 months, and then I'm jumping around. I'm gonna check out maybe Eastern Europe, maybe go to Turkey, get some hair. We'll see. That's all.
Where are you thinking about in Eastern Europe besides Turkey?
I heard of good things about Uzbekistan, Poland. I just did a poll on my IG, and people were telling me Poland was great. I know you've been over there a little bit, so you can tell me some spots that you think I should check out.
I really
But
loved Romania. I loved Romania.
Romania, okay,
Very, very nice. They, first of all, now one thing that I noticed about Romania and Eastern Europe in general, between Poland and Romania, but and Turkey, everybody smokes. You're at the
mm,
restaurant and there's smoke all in the air while you're eating your food. Which for some people that's an issue. You know, I smoke, so it's not too much of an issue, but I also don't want somebody else's smoke blowing over into my food. But I think the people there do have a decency enough to not blow smoke in the air while you're eating. They don't blow it your way at least. But it's very cold there. I don't like cold weather. But the people there are very nice. And with me being black, I didn't really feel, at times, I felt some prejudiceness, but it was very slightly. I didn't really feel
okay,
much at all, except for one time in Poland out of about 2 weeks. But in Romania, it felt very welcoming. They were more curious because I was different. But it's the people there are very nice. It's a very nice place to visit. I think everybody should visit Romania at some point.
I'll have to check it out. I know Top G's over there, so
Yeah, yeah.
try to hop
I
on an
didn't get
interview
to
with him
see
or
him,
something.
though. I was nearby where he stayed, but I didn't get to see him. So, what would you compare? So, what would you say passport bros? Like, where would you say is a general continent per se? Passport bros should visit first. Like, is it Asia? Is it, or pretty much we could say pretty much Asia or South America? Like, which one is better for most people?
I think if you're like trying to test things out, I say South America because the flights are cheaper. You're not. It gets hard committing, like you said, 36 hours travel time to go land in a place and be like, oh man, I don't like it here. And then if you're testing it out, you want to be able to come back. So like you said, return tickets a big thing. So I think test it out in South America. You're going to notice a massive difference in dating culture and just cost of living and everything. You're still going to get the good experience. Um, and then it's interesting. I wish I spent a little more time thinking about just the right dating culture differences between Asia and South America. What's crazy is they're so different. Like you couldn't ask for instance, in Asia, like kissing in public or even like holding hands is like a big sign of affection. In South America, it's like you're making out with your girl at the restaurant, and that's just normal. Or you're like grabbing her ass walking down the street, and everyone just accepts it. And then like dancing's just different. Like bachata looks like you're having sex on the dance floor basically, and in Asia they don't have any sort of dances like that, like out at the clubs. So
Yeah.
I think whatever culture sort of vibes with you a little more. But I think if you're just trying to get your feet wet, I'd say South America is right there. It's easier. Go explore there, and then try out a South Asian country. The time zone's tough. The time zone makes it hard. So you got to get your job right.
Thank you, Eric, for the $3 super sticker. So, what would you say? Which one would you say vibes with you the most between Asia and South America?
It's funny. The Philippines is sort of like the Latinas of Asia, so it's like right in the middle ground. And it was really my girl. Like as I was traveling, like when I met Jules, she's so ride or die and just so like made everything would help. Like my wins are seen as her wins in her eyes. So like the way she's like just supporting, just like how ride or die she is for me, I was like, okay, let's stay here for a bit. Let's ride it out here for a bit. But she's able to travel too, which is another big plus because she's got remote work too. So I might live in South America with an Asian girlfriend. You know what I mean? So like that's gonna be interesting because I like the culture of South America a little bit more. I like the dancing. I love going out and dancing. I love. I have Spanish roots. My grandparents are from Spain, so it's like I want to learn Spanish. So it's weird. Yeah, it's a tough question for me. I'm gonna mix the two probably in the long term.
I don't know if I could do that. Have an Asian girlfriend in South America because there's a lot of beautiful women in South America, and I don't
Hmm.
know. But I mean, if you really love her, yeah. But man, just walking around to the mall. I mean, in the mall with your girlfriend, it'd be like, oh, because I did that recently while I was in Cali. I was staying with her for 3 days, and
Hmm.
eventually I just had to separate myself from her. I was like, I got my own Airbnb. No hard feelings, but I just can't stay with you anymore because everywhere we would go, there were beautiful women. I was like, I'm not doing the best I could. I'm not saying Asian women are any different, but it would seem like it'd be a lot of temptation.
The
If
way I
you're,
look at it, yeah, it's definitely like I'm trying to be a vegetarian. Bacon's always going to smell good. And
yeah.
in South America, they just cooking it outside every day, you know? So I get it. I get it.
So, do you think Asian women or women from South America are more loyal in relationship material?
Oof, that's tough. I don't want to generalize too much, but from my experience, I've seen that. Yeah. Well, I think Latin America is sometimes it's like it's a little bit more loose. Like relationships are a little bit less. Like girls can go grind on some dude in a club, and she's like, "Oh, we were just having fun." You know what I mean? Or there's the rules are less strict than they are in Asia for sure.
I've noticed that. I've really, really noticed that. I've had plenty of girls give me like a signal, like she's about to go home. Me, she's grinding all on me. She really likes me, and then I try to push it to the next level. She's like, "No, I don't want to do all that." And then I see her the following weekend at the same club with her boyfriend. I'm like, "Wow,
Hmm.
like, are they cool with that, or she just doesn't respect him?" But in Latin culture, that's not uncommon.
And in Asian culture, so for instance, if my girlfriend was at work and she had a male coworker and they were both going to lunch, she would wait for her other coworkers to show up. Like she wouldn't go on a one-on-one lunch or even just hanging out one-on-one with another dude, even at work. So it's like very, very it's more traditional in that sense. So very different than Latin culture.
Wow, yeah, I would. I've noticed that as well. So my next question is, well, what is your role in the Passport Bros? Like, what is your purpose for being here?
Yeah, I think well what's funny is I was just doing vlogs. And then I started seeing the comments, Passport Bros up, comment Passport Bro comments. And then I started looking into it and I was like, I really love this movement. My whole thing is I wish I was doing this sooner, right? I didn't get started until I was 29 years old and I could have been doing this sooner. And I want to show every time I make content, I'm pretending like I'm speaking to the 23-year-old version of me and being like, wake up. There's so much more out there. You can get a remote job. It's possible. It's not like a dream of being a rock star, being a pro athlete. Like where only 0.001% of can make it. You can live sort of like a rock star life as getting your remote job and being a digital nomad, and it's super achievable. So my role, I think, is to just inspire guys to start looking into it, and that's why the short form is good because it gets a lot of views, but I don't get in a lot of depth. Where you are like great at depth, you've got like if you want to learn the specifics about a country, that long form really is well. But I think my role is just to inspire guys to start looking into it, and sort of like have the hit in the face of like, look what's possible. Look what's possible. Do your own sort of research. But I'm starting to move into more long form stuff. But that's what I would say my role is I'm trying to wake up the younger version of me to start looking into things sooner.
Thank you, thank you. Yes, I would agree. If you start doing long form content, people already love you, but people will love you and feel connected to you even more if you start doing long form content and you start describing for yourself extended periods of times. What was your first remote job that you had that allowed you to travel?
So I'm a data analyst, and that was my first one. I'm trying to move into content full time just so I'd be able to create more of it. But right now I'm still a data analyst. Um, I left being a Python instructor. I was a Python teacher, and then went to being a during the pandemic was able to go remote and just didn't look back, man. And I was really surprised that my manager let me do it for 30 days. A lot of managers don't let their employees go remote because they think it's illegal. They're like, no, there's tax implications, or like, no, it's illegal. We can't do that. And really, they look into it. It's so easy. It's so easy to let it happen. So I got lucky. I got lucky that my manager was willing to like take a chance on me.
How easy was it to obtain that job?
This one was tough. Actually, it's weird. I put in an application and didn't hear back for like 6 months, and forgot about it, and then got the application. But I think knowing what I do for work, you could get trained in doing what I do in probably 90% of what I do, you could learn within like 6 months. 6 months, 3 to 6 months, you could learn the bulk of my work. And that's why I really want to tell people, like, I'm doing a big analysis on the remote job fields, and I want to be able to guide people into paths where they can be pretty confident they can find a remote job if they get X certificates, if they take X path. Um, but yeah, my job, I'd say there's some parts that are pretty complicated, but for the most part, you could do most of it in 6 months. And I know there's some data analytics certificates that are like you could complete in 3 months, like Google's data analytics certificate. So it's tough. I'm not saying it's super easy, but like people could learn it. People definitely could learn it quickly.
So let's talk about the future of everything. In 5 years, let's say 2029 or even 2030, where do you see the climate of this movement? Like, where do you see the passport bros being? Will it be under some sort of government restriction where it's getting a lot of attention and they're trying to restrict men from leaving? They want to raise renouncing their citizenships. They want to make everything harder for us to do this. What do you think the future would be like around 2029?
That's a good question. And it sucks because so many people have been living sort of this digital nomad life, flying under the radar. And it's like sometimes I get criticism from people who've been doing it a long time, like, yo, shut the fuck up. Like, why are you telling people how to do this? You're gonna make it bad for us. And I think if it reaches a certain point, it will get bad because basically we're funneling money outside of the US economy into other economies. And not only that, we're hurting large corporations, office investments. These corporations bought these giant offices, and if everyone starts going remote, they can't even sell them for half of what they bought them for. They aren't going to like that. So it's like there's a lot of really powerful forces that are going to try to do what they can to sort of stop the movement from getting to a certain point. But having said that, I still want to reach as many young guys as possible. I could see in 5 years some sort of major tax or some sort of visa almost to leave the States could be in effect. I'm not entirely sure how they're going to do it, but if too many people start doing this, they're going to have to enforce the money leaving America in some way.
So some people disagree with you about that with
Okay.
the corporations. And anonymous right here says nothing will happen in the states. If anything, the foreign countries will do something about it. Do you see that? I mean, we can already kind of see that in Colombia,
Mm.
where they're restricting short-term lease Airbnbs, I guess, to restrict these weekend warriors that come here. Just, I mean, they come here just to sleep around and go back home, and they might misbehave, or would you agree with him?
I think I'm gonna have to disagree on the fact. I've actually done some research on this, where a lot of countries, if you look at some studies coming out of Chiang Mai, and even if you ask like economists or Chat GPT if digital nomading is good for the foreign economies, it's a 50-50 depending on the policies. So I think a lot of these countries everything's happening so fast they haven't developed policy to really leverage how much money is being brought into their country. And I think countries that have had this digital nomad thing happen for a long time have understood how to navigate it and how to still have affordable housing for their locals, tax us a little bit and then put that money back into the local countries, and we'll be happy paying taxes when prices are that cheap, and having policies that really help the economy, because a lot of people are actually fighting over digital nomads coming to their countries, especially in Southeast Asia. Like, they want the nomads there because they understand the flow of money into their economy. But in cases like Colombia, in cases like Portugal, where it's gone really, really fast and sort of gotten out of hand, I think that's more of a policy problem. And so I think as countries get better at policies, they're going to welcome us more and more. Just because, like, like the amount of money, if you're living in America, how much of your paycheck is ever going to reach a Colombian's hand? It's not, right? Like, it's going to have to get filtered through massive corporations. By the time it reaches Colombia, it's going to be through some giant, like, I don't even know what company is going to do it, but they're going to pay those workers there pennies on the dollar, right? From what you spent in America. So a lot of people say like, "Oh, this is like colonialism." It's like, no, living in the colony is colonialism. Living in the colonizer country is supporting colonialism more than leaving and giving your money directly to locals. So that's why I would disagree. But it depends on the policy.
Okay, so somebody else brought up a good point. If they fix immigration, then immigrants can replace the people leaving. So, with as many men as we're encouraging to leave the country and settle elsewhere, uh, they also have the people coming through the Darien Gap that are
Mhm.
basically replacing. Do you agree with what they're saying?
I think that's going to happen. I think the economy is going to have a bunch of different levers are pulling and things gaps are going to have to start being filled. But if you get good, it depends on what jobs they're going to be replacing, right? Like if you get your certificates into something that takes a little bit of downtime to learn, it's going to be hard to replace that job necessarily. And you can get paid less than the immigrant that's coming in a sense, not necessarily because they'll probably work for less, but their cost of living will be higher than yours, which is interesting. Like that's an interesting point. Like if I'm in Southeast Asia, they paying me $20 an hour. I'm gonna have 5x better standard of living than the immigrant that came in that took my $20 an hour job. If that makes sense. Like remote work's gonna change everything because before a lot of people wanted to come to America just so they could have that American job. But when you can have that American job and live somewhere else, it's like, yeah, it's just like a cheat code. I think it really is. So they are going to replace, but they're not going to replace every job, in my opinion. I don't know. We're going to see how it shakes out. I'm totally comfortable being wrong on these things.
Okay, okay, that sounds good. So, my last question, or my last two questions, and you kind of answered this one already. Feel free to answer it again if you want. How has the Passport Bros name been tainted?
Yeah, I think a lot of guys, like you said, I think it became cool for a moment to call yourself the Passport Bros because it was like this movement, men lifting each other up, living great lives, and I think a lot of guys sort of put out a video of them walking around Parkettes and been like, "We're the Passport Bros. We're out here." But it's really just sex tourism at
Mhm.
that point. Like the guys that are doing it like you that are staying in these countries months on end, or at least if that's your goal. Like I understand every guy can't be there right now, but if your goal is not to live there, to fully integrate, and you're just sort of flying in for 2 weeks, seeing how many girls you can hook up with, and then leaving, I think that ends up putting, but then and then calling yourself passport bro, I think that ends up putting sort of a bad stench on the net, or just respecting the locals. Honestly, I'm still cool with that too. Like you can, guys should have their fun. We should be allowed to go vacation somewhere for 2 weeks. So I wouldn't necessarily talk down on those guys. I think it's more just like respecting locals, people who are disrespecting locals or putting stuff out under Passport Bro's name that are lies, like the Parkeyetas. These are just how what women in Colombia are like, and every single one of them is down to sleep with you. Like selling too much of a dream, I guess.
So, how would you combat, or yeah, how would you combat these content creators that get online and lie and say that they spread false narratives? Like, how do you see us stopping that sort of stuff from going on?
Yeah, and I think long form's a big part of it because I even think part of the problem with short form is like I could even be accused to a sense of doing something that's like a little bit too positive. You know what I mean? And not touching on the negatives because I only have 60 seconds to talk about this. So I think switching over to long form is going to be helpful. And yeah, being honest and being able to be on. And that's why I really respect you is you would go to a place and be like, this ain't it. Like it's not like you're every place you go to is like this place is amazing, blah blah blah. No, you're letting people know 100% how you feel about the place. And I think more content creators like that, I think, are really going to help out.
Yeah, because we have a lot of content creators that say, like I have one of my loyal subscribers. He says, "Oh, comparing is stealing the joy." But at the same time, my content is to compare to tell you guys, hey, if you have similar interests as me, I like this better over this. I have to compare. It's
Hmm.
natural for humans to compare what places we like better. So if you're not comparing and you're just selling everywhere, it's like, oh, I like this, I like that, and then somebody gets there and say, hey, Austin, you didn't tell me that all the women here were prostitutes.
Yeah, yeah.
That's selling. That's misleading because a lot of guys are going to Pattaya, a lot of guys are going to Medellin, Sosua, or even Rio, and they're not realizing that there's large numbers of prostitutes there. I think out of all the places I just named, Rio may have the least, but there's still large amount of prostitutes there.
Yeah, and it's changing. Like Tinder in Medellin used to be good. I used to recommend guys. Like set your Tinder location there a month beforehand, start swiping, start meeting people, FaceTiming and whatever. But now Tinder and Medellin is just basically that's all escorts basically. It's hard to tell that your matches are probably going to be 50% working girls, if that. So yeah, I agree. These places end up getting, and as they get saturated, it gets worse and worse.
I would agree. I would agree. That's why we have to spread out, and that's why I like to try. I'm a guy now where like Cartagena, I'm enjoying it, but content wise, I'm more into. Let me go to Lima, Peru, or let
Hmm.
me go to El Salvador. Let me go to Honduras. Let me go places that people have been, but a lot of people in the space have no idea about it. Like I'm not the first person to go to Santiago, Chile, but in this space, a lot of us don't know about it, and it's expanding the minds that hey, you don't just have to go to Medellin. You can go even further, or you can go somewhere closer, like Cuba, which I don't hear too many good reviews about because it's inconvenient. But you know what I mean. So last
Yep.
question I have for you is: would you recommend someone bring their wife back to the United States, and why not? If not,
Oh, yeah, it's tough. I wouldn't recommend it because there's so many factors that make it not the best option. For one, your standard of living. Like you're living out here, like I said, you're able to save money. It takes money to make money. You're able to build businesses, eat out every time you want, get people to do your laundry, clean your house. If you go back to the States, that's not going to be the case unless your finances can support that. And also the culture, like that culture, that dating scene in America. I'll put it this way. If I post my girl on social media or like blow up on YouTube, I got a lot of Filipino followers. The DMs they send her are totally different than the DMs American men send her or Western men will send her. I think no one respects relationships out in the States. It's very much just like, hey, if I can get your girl, then I get your girl type thing. And it's like the respect for your fellow man and the respect for fellow relationships is just sort of gone in that dating scene. I think it's because we threw away all the old rules and everyone's from this like scarcity mindset. And it's just I think that will eventually taint the relationship in a sense. But more than that is just the standard of living. Like I like living over here. I like having my family come visit me and being able to host them in a country. Like that's so exciting for me. The freedom, the ability to change the dials of your life. Like I could a lot of people in America are locked into leases where it's like they can't turn that down. They're stuck in a lease, right? Well, I have a 6 month lease now, but it's only 6 months. And then usually it's month to month where it's like I could spend 2 weeks in a sort of lower place, then a weekend in a mansion, then the next week in a hostel, then the week on a beach somewhere. So I just think living in America for me personally, uh, I wouldn't bring her back. No.
yeah, and you're absolutely right about men not respecting other relations. All the girls that I've posted, from the girl in Rwanda, from the girl in Thailand, from Crystal that I had in Kenya. All of the even this is the craziest shit, man. The girl Crystal that I had in Kenya, and she's just one example out of many. The girl, the Crystal that I had in Kenya, she was spending the night with me. And a guy, she was telling me about how she was with me at the time. She was still really into me, showing me, till basically hugged up on me when we would go out, and she's telling me about how my subscribers are saying, "Hey, I saw you on Austin's channel. I want to come to Kenya and spend some time with you." You don't see
Yeah.
how she's all like, you don't see how she's up on me like she really like. Come on, dude. There's billions of women throughout the planet. Like, why do you
Hmm.
want my girl that I'm with at this time? But
It's
we
that
spent a lot.
scarcity.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, 100%. And it's all through Instagram, right? Or like it's all online. Like I think a lot of the guys too, they wouldn't try that in person if you were next to her. Like, you know what I mean? Like it just gives people such an easy social media is wrecking the dating scene in the States, just all
yeah,
around.
yeah. Because we have that culture offline, but when we got the social media, it just made it 10 times worse.
Hmm.
Okay. Somebody said exact extra thirsty and damn near gay to go up. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so that's pretty much all the questions I have for you today. We're at the hour mark. Do you have anything else you want to say to the audience?
I say if you're interested in getting remote work, I'm working on something. I'm taking a long time for it. I'm analyzing like 10,000 new remote jobs in 2024. So stay tuned. I'm going to release it for free. It's just going to be an analysis of all the remote jobs that are available and sort of what fields and paths you can take to most likely have you end with a remote job after you. If you spend time getting a certificate for a remote job, you want to get it one afterwards. So I'm trying to point people in the right direction. So I guess stay tuned for that. And thank you for having me on, man. It's always a pleasure catching up with you.
Absolutely. So where can people find you at?
You can find me on Instagram on the Digital Bromad, YouTube Digital Bromad, and TikTok Digital Bromad.
All right. I appreciate you coming through today, man. Excellent live. We got some excellent information. I hope everybody enjoyed it. And I'll see you guys next time. Make sure you guys visit theaustinholloman.com. And make sure you subscribe to our guest today. He has some amazing content. He's grown. How many subscribers are you at now on YouTube?
YouTube, I'm at 94,000.
Wow. So you just surpassed me because I just hit 93,000 today. So yeah, he's done all that from the majority off of short form content, right?
Yeah. And that's the problem, is that I think these followers don't know that I appreciate you giving me the chance to get on and do some long form, because I think that's where you get people who actually know you and actually like ride with you longer. So a lot of those are new subscribers. So I'm hoping they watch this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I hope so as well. So yeah, I'll make sure that I promote your channel by having this live stream up today. Good luck to you as well. You're already doing very well. I need to take your course on short form content because I started slacking on. Yeah, man.
All right, we'll trade notes on long form and short form.
All right, man. That sounds good. I appreciate it, man. All right, man. See you next time.
All right, I'll see you, man.